the idea that the solar flares caused information blackouts and disruption of communications. Do you think that that's happening? I mean, like they're saying more and more that there's a potential, right, for solar flares to cause some sort of problem.
Hell, it just happened last week.
Right. Okay.
Happens all the time. There are certain isolated parts of the Earth where Birkeland currents and other variations, depending on where these CMEs strike the atmosphere, can completely knock out communications, knock out Wi-Fi routers, and even fry telecommunications in some places where they might be out for a day or two. And, of course, companies will then rush in to try and replace their transceiver equipment because they're losing money for as much as those services are out. But yeah, it causes all kinds of problems on pretty much a weekly basis. Just generally, they're not super widespread. And most equipment was designed to be robust and handle that kind of abuse from the sun. But, of course, the sun has been well behaved for a while, and there's going to come a point where a huge CME or a huge magnetic fluctuation from a flux loop on the sun does decide to collapse, and it's going to knock out quite a bit of electrical equipment and maybe even power in some places, or perhaps across large areas. And that's the big fear for energy distribution, is that it might knock out power in such a way that even the facilities that make replacement transformers are not going to be capable of operating and producing those transformers.
They seem to be working in a rush of all these underground projects. It just makes you wonder all around the world if that's why they're rushing to complete a lot of these underground projects.
Well, it's much safer in terms of protecting from coronal mass ejections to place the cables underground and allowing the magnetic materials, the ferrous materials inside the soil, to shield a lot of that radiation and its effects on telephone and power lines. You'll actually notice that in most modern cities you won't see above ground power lines, and it's mainly about just making sure that wind and storms don't blow them over. But part of that reason and that thinking is also that it makes the grid more robust by protecting it from the effects of the sun.
I just love the idea that all of these underground military bunkers, and some of them are built in the 80s or 50s or 20s or 1880s, so they all have their idea of futurism, but they all are kind of trapped in their time. So imagine you work for the military in Utah or Idaho, and you're in one of these underground, or Kentucky, and you're in one of these underground DUMBs, and it looks like this.
Yeah.
I just think that's funny. Really, I don't know.
It's kind of ironic.
Like, it's a thing to live in, but it's probably cool because, like, once you get deeper into it, they have like cities with trees and basketball courts, right? So that's the one that's pretty cool. I think NORAD has 30,000 people or something that can live in NORAD.
Politicians. They're going to need places to go. Our world leaders are going to need places to go to protect themselves and their families when STHF. As for the rest of us, I guess we're just on our own.
We're with you, Jeremiah, actually. Yeah. We're all with you.
Yeah, we're going to grab you on our way out of Wisconsin.
Yep. Cool. We'll meet you at whatever bunker you're at.
Thunder Bay.
And we'll fight whatever's coming with your technology. And we'll get there. We're ready.
Tesla was fully aware of these problems, and he knew the issue with the power distribution system, and he was constantly listening to signals from the sun and other planets, because, he was the master of wireless communications. But he also had discovered this fantastic thing about transmitting power. So he figured, if we can get rid of the wires, we can get rid of the problems of wires picking up huge magnetic fluxes being produced by CMEs, and totally solve the distribution problem and make the grid basically invulnerable to fluctuations like the ones that took out the telegraph lines in those early years of communication. But that was pretty well stopped by J.P. Morgan and by the military when they found out that he was intending to transmit more than just signal.